I've pretty much discovered the most exciting beginner FPV pack I've ever seen, and it's 65 bucks. G'day, Stu here from UAVfutures, and today, well, something that I'm really excited about, something I'm really passionate about is sharing this message of FPV. And these bad boys that I've got here, this is the Eachine E013, this little micro drone. It's a full FPV setup. It's absolutely awesome, and it's coming in at 65 bucks. Now, usually, look, I tend to stay away from some of the tiny little toy drones. This thing's absolutely microscopic, but this channel, it's about sharing this passion of FPV. I absolutely love drone racing. You guys know how much I love it. There's nothing like it as far as I'm concerned, and it's one of the best hobbies in the world, and this is the exact thing that would have got me started back in the day. So this is what's going to get people into the hobby. So if you're out there and you're thinking, is this what I want to get into? I'm worried about how much things it cost. You've never had a better time. You're never going to have more fun per dollar than what you get with this little bad boy. This thing's absolutely crazy. What you actually get, you get the drone, the little radio, everything you need to get flying, and even a pair of little FPV goggles that you can rip around and try some FPV action. I think this thing's going to be fantastic, and I can see a lot of kids on Christmas opening this thing up and having an absolute blast. Now, what we're going to be doing in this video, we're going to be sticking it on the bench, breaking it down, having a quick squeeze, sort of having a look at the drone, the radio, the goggles, everything you get, and then most importantly, we're going to be taking it around, and we're going to take it out, we're going to fly around the house, and I'm going to show you just how much fun you can have with this tiny little FPV package experience. Now, a bit of a bonus as well, we're going to be giving one of these bad boys away, so to somebody out there, congratulations, because you're going to be winning one of these. Make sure you liked and subscribe so you can stay tuned to future videos. Check the description down below for all the official rules, but yeah, we're going to be shipping somebody out one of these so they can enjoy this little FPV action as well. Anyway, enough rambling, I'm excited. You guys can tell. Let's stick this on the bench and get started and find out why this is probably the best beginner FPV experience you can get, especially considering it's 65 bucks. Alright, let's get to it. Alrighty, so here it is on the bench, and let's get into it. Let's get into why I am so excited. So this is everything you get, and I can't believe it at the price, like at the moment, it's like $66 or $65, whatever it is. Check the link down below, but that is absolutely ridiculous. And the reason I'm excited is, look, this is kind of how I started in the hobby. I had a tiny little Hubsan that I was flying around. That's what sparked my passion for quadcopters, and then look where we are today. So I'm so excited that this is sort of something that we're going to be able to share with future generations. We're going to get people flying with these sorts of things. Now, let's have a bit of a look. This is what we actually get in the kit. So these are the important parts. You do get some boring parts, like I'm going to throw this USB cable out of the way. You also get some little bit of head foam and a head strap, all that sort of jazz. That part's irrelevant. That's to the side. Let's have a look at what we actually have. So what you actually get in the kit, you get everything you need to get up, have an FPV experience. You can fly around and actually have a good time. And look, we're going to show you some flight footage later, but I've given this thing a little bit of a buzz around, and it is an absolute blast. So what you get, you're going to need a pair of FPV goggles. You've got your radio. We're going to be going through all these individually. You've got some spare props. I'm going to put these to the side actually, so you do get 4 spare props. You've got your little LiPo battery, which is just a 1S, and then you've got your little quadcopter itself, or your little FPV micro drone. Now, traditionally, these things can be really, really expensive. So this is kind of like, you can pay like, I think a tiny whip is like $100 plus if you're really decking them out, you know, and you've obviously got your expensive radios, which are like $100, I think, the Tyrannus and that sort of stuff. FPV goggles, don't get me started on how expensive these bad boys can get, but what you actually get here for like the $65 is, it's just ridiculous. It's really exciting, you know, and don't expect the best of the best, because that's not what I'm saying this is whatsoever. I'm saying for 65 bucks, I don't think you can get more fun value than this sort of stuff, because I would have loved something like this to start, or even just, you know, just as a kid to get a present like this. I would be totally pumped. It'd be so exciting. Anyway, that's enough excited rambling out of the way. Let's jump in and have a bit of a look at the components themselves, and then most importantly, let's fly it around, because that's what it's about, and I'll show you guys some DVR as well and show you exactly what this experience is like. Alright, well, let's do it. Alright, we're going to start off with the drone, because that's probably the most exciting part. What this is a little variation on like the E013, the little Eachine E013. It's a little brushed, tiny little micro FPV quadcopter. It is super light. It runs on a 1-cell battery. Now, the battery is actually pretty small. It's just a 200 milliamp hour 1S battery, so pretty tiny. I'm going to leave a link down below, because that's something I do wish you had more. Not that I'm complaining, because I understand the price of this. Everything in here is super cheap. But I'm going to see if I can find a link to maybe some more batteries, because trust me, if you're getting one of these things, you're going to wish you had a stockpile of like 5 or 10 of these. But the good thing about being this small, they are super cheap as well. Anyway, so we're going to put the battery to the side, a little bit more about the micro drone. So let's stick it on the scales, find out how much it weighs. Alright, look at that. It's coming in at like 20 grams, so it is absolutely microscopically light. This thing isn't going to be damaging anything, and you can see the prop guards on the outside as well. If this thing's bouncing into something, and look, I think this thing is aimed at people who want to get into the hobby, they want something safe, and especially for me, the market for this is just, you know, kids' Christmas presents or something like that, giving them this. If you're worried about this hurting someone, this thing's not going to hurt a fly, and if it does even land on them out of the sky, it's not going to hurt as well. Coming in at like that feather lightweight, it's not going to cause any damage whatsoever. Now the good thing about this drone, the components are pretty well protected, so those things also protect the props. Now we do have some little 4 brushless props. I do have to laugh because they say it provides more powerful power in the advertising there, but that sounds, that's a bit of a funny translation. But as well as providing more powerful power, they are ducted, so they should give you a little bit of lift. But it's nice that this thing should be protecting not only the things around your house, but it should also stop your props from breaking when it bounces off the wall and things like that. Now all the goods, look inside here, you've just got a tiny little pretty much all-in-one board. It doesn't do acro mode unfortunately, but I think that's fine because, you know, for what it does, it's still pretty good. And to be honest, most of the time when I'm flying around indoors, I tend to fly in self-level mode anyway, so you know, that's kind of interesting. What we're going to do, you can see everything. The only thing on here, you've got your camera out the front. It's not on an angle, so you're not going to be going crazy fast, but I don't think you want to with this little bad boy. And then on the top, you've just got your little FPV antenna sticking up out of the top right there. What we are going to do, let's pop the hood and have a bit of a quick squiz. You don't really need to do this, but inside all you're going to find is a little FPV camera, and it's a little 40-channel FPV camera, so if you wanted to get a bunch of this, you'd be able to fly multiple at once, you know, a few at once, if you get your channel set up correctly. And to do that, all you got to do is press this little button on the top, and that's going to cycle through all your bands and all your channels. Anyway, let's take the top off, have a bit of a quick squiz. That means look, by the way. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to take that out because I'm going to have to unscrew the lens to get this out, so you can sort of see. You got to unscrew it, take the shell off, and then screw it back on. I'm just going to leave it like it is, but there's really not too much to it whatsoever. Your tiny little flight controller receiver board, and then in there, up in here, you can see is your FPV camera, and that's it. And the crazy thing is, this is how Tiny Whip started. That's what people started to do. They started to get the blade inductrix and then stick a little FPV camera on top of this thing. It's doing it for like stupid prices. Now you did get some stickers as well. I'm going to screw the top on here. You did get these stickers. I stuck them on. I forgot to mention that up the top. So look. So yeah, so I've already stuck my stickers on. So bad luck if you wanted to see what the stickers looked like. Anyway, so that's it. That's the drone. And let me tell you, in the flight time that I had with this thing, it was super stable. So you guys are going to love it. This thing is going to be so much fun around the house. Let's jump in and go quickly through the goggles and the radio, that sort of jazz. And then what I want to do, you know, let's get out, have some fun, and fly around the home. All right. Alrighty, so moving on to the goggles themselves. They're the Eachine VR006s, and I don't know how much you're expecting, but I was expecting for the price not to have something this good. So look, you don't get too much with them. You've got a little dipole antenna, nothing too exciting right there, so that's going to go on the top. If you wanted to, you could definitely upgrade that to a better antenna. There's a 40-channel receiver inbuilt in here. If you want to charge it, here's your little charging cord, so it's nice to know that it's got an internal battery, so you simply plug that end in. I think I had it around the right way. I had it around the wrong way. Plug that in and into your computer. You don't need too much more to get ready, get set and get rolling. And then you've just got a couple of simple buttons on the side, which is great because that's all we want for this sort of simple setup, especially if kids or those people are sort of going to be using it. Now, before we jump in and have a look at the screen, this made me laugh. This is your sort of head strap. I left it off for the review, but when you connect it, you've got two on the side. You've also got one over the top, and it's absolutely crazy because Fat Shark doesn't even do that. And you've got this really cheap little pair of goggles that are, honestly, this is better than a Fat Shark battery strap. So that part's pretty crazy. Now what I want to do, let's stick it on the scales, because wearing FPV goggles is very, very important. If you're going to be wearing these things all day, you want them to be super comfy. These things are pretty small. Check this out. It's coming in at like 170 grams, so super light, and it actually feels pretty comfortable on your face because it's so small. It's not pressing down or anything like that. Alrighty, now to turn them on, you hold this button down on the side, and then you can see here's your screen in here. So I don't know how much you guys can see that. It is pretty, you know, it is a lot smaller than what people are used to for box goggles, but more than enough to fly around with. And what I might do, I'm going to plug my drone in, so we'll plug this little bad boy in. We'll be able to see a little image, so let's plug it in. And then that should boot up. There we go, you guys can see the image in there. So it's very, very clear. I'm going to be showing you some DVR in a little bit as well, but yeah, a nice bright display, and when it's up against your face, I think you're going to be having no time seeing what you're flying around. Pretty exciting stuff. Now look, the goggles are not perfect. This part here is the only real option that you have to do anything, and this is another AV in, and I thought, oh gee, that's such a shame. I was exciting because I thought that might be a little AV out, and in that way we could record some DVR. So this unit itself is not going to be able to record some DVR, but I will show you some DVR through some other goggles. I'm still going to be flying with these though, but that's a little AV in. So if you did want to hook that up to, I don't even know what you'd be hooking this up to, maybe a ground station or something like this, you could still fly around with these. Now one thing I really like about these are small enough, I'm just going to turn it off there, hold the button. These, oh, they've also got an auto scan function as well. They show you your battery voltage for the goggles themselves, and they also show you what channel you're on, which is really, really important because, you know, it can auto lock to a channel, but you can manually go up and down and see exactly what channel you're on as well. But one thing I really like about this small form factor, I'm thinking I might leave this in my backpack permanently because so many people come and say, oh, what are you flying there? Can I have a look? You know, and I sort of want to get them on side, show them what this hobby's all about. A little pair of this, you know, it doesn't take up any weight, any room. I can hand them some goggles and they can sort of experience what it's like to do FPV without me having to carry around a big box set like head plays or another expensive pair of goggles or anything like that. These bad boys, they're going to do that job perfectly for me. So as spectator goggles, I think just showing people you come across, you know, what a nice little package. And then finally, we've got our little remote here. So one thing I want to mention straight off the bat, usually, you know, it's one upgrade they've done, these sticks, I've got mine in mode 2, these sticks here, they're actually a little bit higher and they've got some nice serrated edges. So what that actually gives you a little bit more grip, and also you've got more throw on them. So the sticks aren't quite as tiny, which makes those precise movements a little bit easier. So I'm a big fan of that. In the back, well, I've actually already got some batteries in here, but it takes some it takes some AAA batteries, so you can see them. I've got them in the back. And then there's not too much to it. There is some like headless features, all that sort of stuff. You know, it says return to home. That doesn't work whatsoever. The trims, you know, it's got some trims which are useful. It doesn't fly in acro mode, and then some little buttons up here. You've also got if you want to do some flips and stuff like that. That stuff, look, I don't really care about flips, headless mode, I don't care about any of that rubbish. All I want to know is, does it fly stable and what's it like to do some FPV? Because you're not going to be pressing buttons when you do an FPV. We just want to be able to fly around. That's what our hobby's about having fun behind the screens and on the sticks in the sky. Now very quickly, for anybody who's sort of wondering, if you don't want to watch the menu and you're just watching this video, all you got to do, turn your radio on, plug your quad in, they'll see they start to beep, then you go all the way up, all the way down, then you're ready to rock and roll. Now before we get off and get flying, because that's what I'm excited about, let's quickly go through some of the design choices. And look, I don't know how much there is to say, because I mean, for $65, it might be more expensive, I'm not sure, check that link down below, but for 65 bucks, what it is at the moment, when I'm reviewing this, I don't know how much I can complain, because everything you get in here is just so value packed. It's going to get people flying. It's exactly, I would have loved a kit like this, not only as a kid, but also as an adult who was sort of seeing some videos online and thinking, gee, that looks fun, that must be expensive. And to see something like this, I would have bought this hands down. Anyway, what we should do, let's cut around, because I want to show you guys some DVR. We'll show you this thing taken off. We're going to fly around the house. I'm pretty excited because that's exactly what this thing is for. If you've got a small space indoors, we're going to be flying with this radio. I'll be having this pair of goggles. I'll be recording some DVR on another set because look, this doesn't have the recording capabilities. But yeah, I'm pretty excited, and then I'll talk about my impressions as well. All right, let's cut to some fun little flight footage in 3, 2, 1, boop! Alrighty, so here we go on board, and look, this thing does have a few modes. So this is it in beginner mode. So we're going to talk about its flight characteristics in a moment, but I want to make one thing really, really clear. Like, this thing, for the price, is absolutely crazy, and I'm not comparing it to, say, like, if you wanted to get a little tiny whoop set up, a Tyrannus radio, and like a pair of, you know, proper Fat Sharks, that is going to be a much better flight experience, but that's costing like up to around $1,000. So I'm not comparing this to that sort of top end gear. I'm just saying, for the price, this thing is absolutely ridiculous. For 65 bucks, this is offering a fantastic FPV experience. Anyway, so we're flying around in beginner mode here. You can see sort of bumping into things, and those bumpers really come in handy. And that's kind of what you want in this sort of small space anyway. You want a quad that can bounce off walls and all those sorts of things. Now, in a moment, look, we are going to put it into sort of, I guess, more of an expert mode where it's a little bit quicker, and then we'll also take it outside and show you what it's like flying around. But if you've got a tiny small house, then this thing, it's a heap of fun to fly around. It's a great little FPV experience.
It was really stable in the air, but one thing that I will mention is if you're used to flying these things, I found the yaw a little bit twitchy. So that's when it turns left and right. It sort of took a little bit on the sticks, and then it would turn sort of very quickly. So there wasn't that sort of really nice finite movement that you could get. Most of the time it felt okay, but if you're trying to do some really precise stuff, that yaw could be a little bit jerky. Now you can see the camera's really clear. I found the reception totally fine. I didn't go too far or anything like that. It's only on 25 milliwatts, so don't expect it to be getting a huge range or anything like that. But for the price, I mean, you can't really complain. And there's no OSD, so it's not going to tell you your voltage or any of that sort of jazz that some of the more advanced drones have. But again, those features are usually things that are found in things that are a lot more expensive. And for the 65 bucks, if you just want to get out, get flying, or maybe you just want to give something to a gift to somebody to sort of spark their passion of FPV, I don't think you can go very wrong with this thing whatsoever. Now, look, I don't know if it's just me and my bad luck. I do bounce off a lot of things, but one thing that I found with such a little drone, it seems to get stuck in all sorts of places, always up way high, and I've got to go climb up and get it because even though it might be upright, like here, I got stuck on top of, I don't know what you call these things, but where we hang the dishes and all those sorts of stuff. So I had to go and get that. So that part's a little bit annoying. And right here, here's another clip I wanted to show. Very rarely would I bounce a drone into my face on purpose, and I feel totally fine doing that with this little thing because look, it's really, really safe, and I don't think it's going to hurt a fly. Now here we are on expert mode. You can see it's a lot more twitchy, and though the small control, the small radio doesn't help really whatsoever with that, but it's a little bit quicker, so you can rip it around a little bit faster. But there's that yaw I was talking about. It's very, very, I guess, jerky, sort of twitching around. So in my experience, I found this a little bit harder to control. Maybe with some practice, you'd get a little bit better at it. But yeah, overall, I liked it in beginner mode, but it is nice that we have that sort of expert, well, they say expert mode if you want to go a little bit faster. And all it's really doing is allowing you to go on a greater tilt, on a greater angle, so you can get up a little bit more speed. Now, I think I can see a lot of people having fun with these. Maybe if you're like, if you've got a small home or if you wanted to take one to work, if you work in an office or anything like that, something like this would be a hoot, especially if you could get a few to fly around together. And that's a great thing about having those multiple channels. You can sort of just change them and then you can all fly around at the same time. So that's going to be pretty fun. And right here, this is where I've decided we'd test the little roll function. And I've got to say, it really does do a roll very, very well, very, very centered, probably better than I could do one even manually, but it's all computer assisted and it doesn't really feel anywhere near as special when you're just pushing a button and it doesn't for you. It's much better if it had acro mode and it would just sort of, if you could do the roll or learn to do it, because at the moment, I don't really like the button pushing feature. It's not really very much fun. Anyway, here we have a little bump, and one good thing you can see, look, it's great. It still gets up and gets flying again. There's not too many micro indoor drones that can do that. Anyway, what we should do, I think I'm going to come and land in the high chair in a minute, or at least try to. We'll take it outside and I'll show you why it's great for an indoor drone, but I wouldn't recommend it for outdoors. So here we are. We're outdoors now, and this is my excuse. I said, let's take the daughter to the playgrounds, but it was absolutely so I could try and fly this little thing around. And there was a bit of a breeze, and this thing is so light, I can't really recommend it to fly around outdoors because unless it is super still, you're going to struggle even in the lightest breeze. I mean, that 19 or 15 grams, whatever it is, it's super difficult to try and navigate with that breeze. So it's much more suited to like indoors, so in your home or in the office, wherever you're flying that. And trying to fly this thing around outdoors, it was just a lot more difficult. So if you want to try FPV drone racing, well, not really racing. Well, I guess you probably could have a race, but if you just want to try flying FPV drones around, something like this, you really don't have an excuse because it is so cheap. And look, I'm not saying it's the best of the best or anything like that, but like I said, the Tyrannus and Fat Shark goggles and, a tiny whoop that's tricked out, that really, you could spend $1,000 on that alone. And for 65 bucks, this thing is absolutely crazy. So I'm really excited that's going to get a lot of people into the hobby.
Alrighty, so there it is. There's my review with the Eachine E013, whatever it is. It's linked down below. I hope it's still on sale for like 65 bucks. And honestly, this thing, I'm blown away. Like 10 out of 10 for me in terms of fun factor, in terms of value factor. And look, I know some people out there aren't going to like that because they're all about the hardcore ultralights, making sure they're getting the most performance. But what this channel's about, it's about sharing FPV. It's about igniting that passion of, getting into drone racing and flying around and having fun. And I can't think of anything that embodies that better for a beginner, especially at this price. Absolutely ridiculous. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Definitely go and check this link out down below as well. Remember, we're running a giveaway, so make sure you drop a comment, all that sort of jazz. Check the description down there for the official rules. But yeah, I'm a big fan, and what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be ordering a bunch of these because I've got some nieces and nephews I know that are going to absolutely froth when we give them one of these. Hopefully they don't watch my videos because I do want it to be a bit of a surprise. But yeah, I can see them opening this on Christmas and just having an absolute blast. I'm pretty excited. Anyway, enough rambling from me. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more FPV related content and hit that bell icon because I'm pretty much putting out videos daily. So make sure you're checking that because there's new videos all the time. Subscribe for more FPV related content, and as always, happy flying. I'm going to leave some more flight footage of this bad boy as well because honestly it's so smooth and stable. I'm having an absolute blast. Anyway, happy flying.